Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. You want to see some new knives? Well, I got a few of the greatest things that have hit our shelves here in the last week. Let's check them out. So the first thing we've got this week is a new flipper from Steelwill. It's called the Screamer, and it comes in about $63.99 right now. This is another one of their very affordable D2 flippers. D2 steel, of course, you're going to get a good bit of edge retention for your money. And I really like the blade shape on this knife. You've got, it's not quite a harpoon point, but you got this little upsweep here, a nice continuous curve to the edge, but it still manages to maintain a pretty acute point at the same time. I think it's going to be a really nice utility blade overall that still has a sense of style to it. Because as you can see, we've got some real nice fluid lines here. And then we've even got a cutout in the scales as well as on the blade that kind of mimic or echo each other just a little bit. Now, because of that opening hole, you've got a couple of different options to open this knife. Of course, you have the flipper on the back, flips open quite nicely, but you can also, of course, do a two-handed opening with that hole, do your thumb opening, or do that middle finger flick, which is oh so popular these days. A couple of different handle colors are available. We've got the blue G10 right here, and that comes with a red backspacer, but we've also got black G10 with a blue backspacer and black G10 with a red backspacer, and that version comes with a black stonewashed blade. It's a decent amount of length on the handle. I have slightly larger hands, and I can still get just about a 4-finger grip on there. And it doesn't have a finger choil per se, but you can still choke up in front of the flipper tab a bit right there to get right behind the edge right there for the finer work. Maybe control the tip a little better with a pinch grip here. It's a pretty cool knife. Blade length is about 3.2 inches, but with that geometry, with that shape, it feels like you're going to be able to get a lot of work done. 3.2 is not exactly a small size, I'll grant you, but it feels a little bit bigger than its 3.2 inch size blade length would suggest. Now it does have a pocket clip here on the right side for tip-up carry. The clip itself is not reversible, but in cold steel fashion, it actually comes with another clip for the other side. So you can use this on either side with the two included clips that come with the knife. Now, a quick word about that hole in the handle there. Now, they may have done this just for aesthetics, but I'm finding that actually, when I wrap my hands around it, my fingers are finding that groove really nicely. It gives me a little bit more grip, a little bit stronger hold on the knife when you're going to be putting it through some hard work. So it looks pretty cool, and it actually has a functional benefit as well. One more quick note, if you want a chance to own one of these knives, we're actually giving this knife away, this very knife that I'm holding in fact, on our Instagram page from the Knife Center. And we're going to leave a link to that in the description below so that you can click that and head over there. All the rules will be posted there and get your chance to win one of these cool knives. All right, next up, a bunch of the new Cold Steel 2020 models are trickling in, and we've got the new 4MAX Scout in the building now. The Scout version of the 4MAX is, of course, their lightweight version, but I only say that because the handle scales are synthetic now as opposed to the G10s or the other materials that they use on previous versions of this knife, but it still weighs about 10.2 ounces, so this is definitely still a beefy knife. And because of the materials they're using here, not just on the handles, but on the blade as well, the price is a lot better than the old 4MAXs. Both of those were over $300. This one right here is $110.49. As I mentioned, you get synthetic handles. This is their Grivex material, and they've given it sort of an orange peel-like texture. It has a good amount of grip to it, a good amount of traction, I should say, without feeling too aggressive. It's not really going to tear your hands up too much. And it is a big, big handle for sure. If you've got really large hands, mine are a little bit on the larger side, but not monstrous. But if you have really large hands, there's enough length here, even though it does kick up a little bit here at the back. And that might cramp you just a little bit. But you've got this nice broad finger choil at the front for choking up and getting behind that drop point blade. Blade itself is AUS 10 stainless steel, which is going to give you a pretty good amount of performance, and I really like the very heavy stonewashed finish they've put on this blade. It's a hard-working knife, and that's a hard-working finish to go with it. Factory edge, of course, is very good. Most cold steel factory edges are quite good, I've found. And we also got the triad lock, of course. This is an Andrew Demko designed knife, and this is an Andrew Demko designed lock. It's definitely one of the strongest locks on the market. And if you had to carry a folding knife as a survival knife, honestly, I'd usually recommend a fixed blade, but if you had to carry a folder for some reason or another, this wouldn't be a bad option at all. because you've got a really broad blade stock, a really broad lock bar. You're gonna have a decent amount of weight. With this handle design, it almost feels like they want you to choke back and do some light chopping with it. Again, if you're gonna do that with a folder, at least you've got the triad lock here to back you up. It's a really cool knife. It's a beast, definitely a tank, a hard-working knife, folding survival knife, call it what you want. Cold Steel Formax Scout. Now, speaking of fixed blade survival knives, we've also now got the new SRK-C, C of course standing for compact, SRK, survival rescue knife. And the previous versions of this knife were about 6 inches long, and despite the name being compact, this is only about an inch shorter. It's only a 5-inch blade, but it feels a lot smaller than that in a way. And I mean that not in a bad way at all. It feels nice in the hand, the balance is very good. The balance point actually sits right about here on the front of the synthetic finger guard right there. So you're not fighting too much weight out there on the end of the blade, especially if you choke up a little bit. You've got a perfect balance for doing the smaller survival or bushcraft types of tasks that you might need. Now the blade is that same SK5 carbon steel that you can find on some of the variants of the full size, but the stock is a little bit thinner. Our specs here say 4 millimeters. It's not quite 5/32 just based on my, my quick eyeballing of it, but you've got that SK5 carbon steel, so it's nice and tough. You've still got that powder coating, which is gonna help you, or help keep corrosion at bay, at least everywhere except the edge and the logo mark itself. That straight clip point profile rides a nice line between sort of tactical uses as well as just general purpose outdoors or general purpose anywhere really. This wouldn't be a terrible everyday carry fixed blade knife if you needed a larger blade. The saber grind is flat ground, so you've got a good compromise between strength and slicing performance, and you've got their synthetic handle with a decent bit of grip, nice shape to it overall, and of course you've got the SecureX sheath that they come with, which is reversible for left or right carry. You can just swap the belt loop around, or the belt hardware around to either side you need. But overall, I think it's a really solid survival knife, a really solid just general purpose outdoors or hunting knife for only $45.89. I mean, these are really quite a good deal. All right, one more new Cold Steel today. It's a new variant of the AD-15, also by Andrew Demko. Now the thing, of course, with this knife is the Scorpion lock, which is this yoke here at the back, this bar, or whatever you want to call it, that has a little crossbar that goes across the tang of the knife. So in terms of the actual lockup, it's not quite accurate to say it kind of functions like a lock back, but it's kind of similar in ways. But instead of pushing down at the back to lift the lock bar, you actually lift it up with your fingers like so. Now the advantage, of course, with this is once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to close the blade and keep your fingers out of the path of the edge, which is definitely an appreciated feature. Apart from that, this is very similar to the original Cold Steel AD-15. We just now have black G10, as well as a blackened lock bar at the back. S35 VN steel, again, about a little bit over 3.5 inches with a flat grind, nice swedge, and the price on this new variant is $229.49. All right, next up, we've got the new ZT. And I say the new ZT because this was the only new model that they unveiled at SHOT Show just a couple of weeks ago, although we certainly expect there to be more models coming out throughout the year. This is the ZT308. It's a relaunch of the 300 series, which kind of really put ZT on the map. And it's big, it's bold and brash, a little bit over the top, and that's why we like it. Price on this is $300, and for that you get this broad 20 CV blade, nice flat grind, nice stone-washed finish. Definitely, just like any of the 300 series in the past, as soon as you open it, it's definitely an impression maker. We've got a KVT ball bearing pivot. This is not assisted opening like some of those 300s were. And on the back, we have this G10 scale on the front, tan in this case, as well as the titanium frame lock on the back, and the machined texture matches on both sides. Even better than that, it's not just a flat scale or flat slab on either side either. You've got a little bit of contour, a little bit of elevation going on to go along with that texture. Texture itself is a bit on the subtler side. This is not a pocket shredder for sure. It's really cool, feels really good in the hand. Other things I definitely like, you've got this pass-through going through the handles, something that they've been doing with Kershaw a lot in the last couple of years, or at least, I guess starting last year, they started to roll kind of that feature out or lean into that feature. And of course, Kershaw and ZT are the same parent company, so it's not too surprising to see that here. Some other nice little touches, the pivot here, you'll see there's no kind of torque screw head hole in there at all. And that's because you can actually adjust this with a standard wrench. It's a 1/2-inch wrench, I believe, if I remember correctly, that you can just pop on here and adjust the pivot. No specialized tools needed. In addition to that, we've got a reversible pocket clip, tip up, left or right. And they've used a kind of a standard 3-hole pattern that lets you use certain aftermarket clips. I think a lot of the steel flame clips will fit these, as well as just a ton of other aftermarket options out there. So the pocket clip as it comes, certainly good to go, but if you're into customizing, they make it easier on you since they're using that standard pattern. Overall, when you take all these pieces together, it's definitely kind of ZT's greatest hits playbook that they use to put this knife together, but it looks completely fresh. I love what they've done with this new 300 series relaunch with this 308, right now $300. All right, now we're gonna show you a few things that are a little more gentlemanly. And the first is a limited edition Fox Radius. When I say limited, this is truly a limited edition. This isn't like, even when somebody puts out like a 300-piece limited run, there's still 300 pieces out there. With this knife, this is only one of 15. What you're getting with this knife is a Damasteel blade just under 3 inches long with a real kind of old-fashioned looking pattern to it. It's not like a modern computer-generated looking pattern. This has a little bit more of that random old school look to it that I really like. The handles are titanium. You've got some milled stuff going on, some milled arced lines going on, and we've got a PVD coating on this titanium as well to help it stand up more over time. If you're gonna carry it, that is. This may wind up being a safe queen for some of you guys. Milled titanium pocket clip on the back, single position only, but of course, the star of the show is the actual locking/opening mechanism itself. And that's actually where it gets the name Radius, because you can see that little thumb stud rotating around the pivot itself. And when you're opening it, it kind of works just like a normal thumb stud. You have to push in as you do so, but then you can rotate the blade out, no problem. Same thing when you close the knife. Now the name they came up for this wasn't super inventive, I'll grant you. It's called the Fingers Safe Opening System. But like the Scorpion lock on the AD10, because it allows you to keep, AD15, it allows you to keep your fingers out of the path of the blade, which is always nice. Now this is an Italian knife, of course, being Fox Knives, and the designer is as well. Dennis Simonuti came up with this blade. And the knife itself isn't the only impressive part. The packaging is also really cool as well, and I'll bring that out right here. You can see right here at the top, they've actually got the billet of Damasteel that they cut the blade out of, and you can see it's serialized here. This is number 8 out of 15, and that matches the back of the blade as well. So you're gonna have matched packaging to the knife itself. This then pulls out like a drawer. And here on the inside, you've got some paperwork, and underneath the foam, you've got a pouch to go along with the knife. But this isn't just some ordinary kind of nylon pouch with a zipper that a ton of people do. You've actually got nice bits of leather, nice embossed red accenting leather here on the side. And it's just, overall, it's a classier piece than what you might expect when you think, oh, the knife comes with a pouch. Now the truth is, at the end of the day, really everything they do with this knife and everything they include needs to be just a little bit better, because this commands quite a price premium. We're at a little bit over $1,150 with this knife. Now that is a big number, I know, but again, you have to keep in mind the limited edition status of this knife, the limited materials they use with this knife. But if it's still a little high, but you really want to get your hands on one, I should mention that KnifeCenter, we do have a layaway program that'll help you, pay for these a little bit over time if you are very interested in the knife. If you like this design though, but don't care about the limited edition factor, you just want one to use, they still make, every one of these that they do make is still very premium, but you can get into these for a lot less money. They start at a little bit over $400 for other versions. All right, while we're talking about expensive knives, I'm gonna do a couple more really expensive ones before we bring things back down to earth a little bit. And the first is the Jerry Moen Mongoose. Now we've got a bunch of versions of this in right now. This is one of the more premium ones that comes in at $875, and that comes with a Damasteel blade and a bronze honeycomb machine titanium. But the entry price on this knife, actually we come in at about $350 for a mid-tech version of this knife made by Riot. So the quality is excellent, nothing at all to complain about there, but you get that lower price because of the imported construction. And that comes with RWL 34 steel, either a satin or a hand-rubbed blade with a standard gray titanium handle. Very, very cool knife if you don't want to spend as much as you would on this knife here. But if you want to spend even more than this knife here, we actually have a full Damasteel version of this knife right now that's very cool. And I didn't bring it out here on the table right now because I didn't actually want to get my fingerprints on it and have to clean it, because the blade itself is kind of a mirror finished titanium or mirror finished Damasteel, and the handle is too. It's not titanium. Like, you can see how thick these are. To get a thick chunk of Damasteel and then mill it down into this shape is certainly very expensive, and that knife comes in at a little under $1,300. But if you're looking for a gentleman's knife that is a little more provocative, so to speak, the Mongoose is definitely a great choice. You've got this recurve harpoon point blade with the tip that drops down quite a bit. Honestly, in use, it may perform a little bit like a Wharncliffe blade in terms of how the blade actually interacts with what you're cutting. Got a hollow grind, that really cool steel, nice crown spine on this one right here. Not completely crowned, it's kind of has a little bit of a bevel, at least it feels like it underneath my hands. Still carries nice and slim in the pocket because of that handle construction. Got this nice teardrop shape going on. Flips open. It's just so satisfying right now, and with the range to choose from, all of them are premium, but there are more affordable options for these Jerry Moen Mongoose knives. All right, one more expensive one. Don't go away, you guys. We get a bunch of new cool Microtechs in all the time, and this is a very cool one. This is a new Ultratech Signature series knife. Now, this is the Ultratech you all know and love, just dressed out to the nines for a price of just under $950 right now. We've got a Damascus steel dagger blade, double-edged, and nice blue hardware. You got the screws, the window breaker at the back, and the slide are all that nice blue color, which sort of is like the classy color, isn't it? Whether it's black and this subtle blue, or gray, titanium and this subtle blue, it's just a really nice look overall. But this is only one of the cool new Microtechs that we have in right now. I'll try to show you a couple more in the next couple of weeks, but you can check them all out with the link below. All right, back down to earth a little bit, at least in terms of the price. We have the Lion Steel Thrill, which is probably the favorite thing that I saw at SHOT Show. It's the thing I was thinking about the most. It is the integral slip joint from the masters of the integral frame lock. Now, you can get this in two different handle materials. I've got the titanium version here, which comes in just under $200, but we've also got aluminum that comes in at a more affordable $120 or thereabouts. Now, the aluminum versions, you can get them anodized black or in a couple different colors. We've got orange, red, and green. And the titanium versions come with a more subtle anodized color, including this bronze one right here. Now, and the reason these are special is the handle and the back spring are all one piece. It's all from the same piece of metal. Now, as far as I know, this is a world first, at least in terms of production knives, and the action they've managed to dial in along with that is awesome. You know, slip joint folks know walk and talk, and they love to have a nice half stop, and the walk and talk here, it's so satisfying to use. Now, to help prevent any wear that might occur between the harder steel and the softer handle material, they've cribbed another thing that they use on their integral frame locks, and they've included a steel insert on the end of the leaf spring here. It's going to give you a nice tight interface that's not going to wear down over time, so it should stay, or at least it's not going to wear down nearly as fast. You know, everything, of course, can wear with time. We don't want to give that impression that it won't. But it feels really good. It's going to last a long, long time. And if that weren't enough, well, shoot, we should talk about blade steel. 3 inches, M390, flat grind, with a bit of a sort of a semi-long pull on either side, so it's easy for lefties or righties. Really usable blade shape, really handy blade shape for folks out there that live under certain length restrictions. That sub 3-inch length is a really good size to have. And even better, or not even better, but the cherry on top of all of this is their H-Whale retractable pocket clip. Just push it right there when you're ready to stick it back in your pocket. You can slide it on, and as soon as you pull it out, it's spring-loaded to pull it into the handle. It's flush, it's not sticking out at all, so you can really use this knife without a hot spot from the pocket clip. But at the same time, it solves one of those classic kind of slip joint conundrums that they don't have pocket clips usually, so you just throw them in your pocket, or if you just throw them in your pocket, they kind of float around, they might kind of get in the way. So this is a great way to carry a modern slip joint with some really good materials, still clip it to your pocket, and you don't have to worry about all the complexities of a locking knife. All right, another nice gentlemanly flipper that just came out is a new variant of the Civivi Anthropo, designed by Elijah Isham. Coming in at $102, they've classed this up with a stainless Damascus blade and cocobolo handles on both sides. Cocobolo is always a really good looking wood in general, and I really love this particular piece on the one I'm holding right here. Now in terms of weight, it's a little bit lighter than the G10 versions, and it has a warmer feel in the hand as well because of those materials. The blade has a nice upsweep to it. It's going to be a really good slicing profile with that full flat grind. Liner locking folder, bearings in the pivot so it flips really nicely, but the pivot or the flipper doesn't stick out the back, so you have just a subtle flipper tab sticking up instead. It keeps the lines of the knife a little bit cleaner when it's closed, flips really nicely, and then you don't see the tab at all when it's open. It's also got a deep carry pocket clip on reversible for both sides with just a little bit of the corner of the handle that sticks up beyond the edge of your pocket. A really, really cool gentleman's knife right now, new Civivi Anthropo. All right, we've also got a couple of new Bestechs, and this is the Camoza flipper. This knife does have a trailing point Tonto blade, M390 steel, and I think this is a really fresh take on the Quaken craze that's been going on the last couple of years. You know, it's kind of hard to stand out with so many people making them, but I think the Camoza definitely stands out from the pack. Got M390 steel, as I said, and a titanium frame with some really intricate milling going on. There's definitely a lot of dimension and a lot of visual interest to look at here. On the back, it is a frame lock, as you can see, with the lock bar insert / over travel arrestor mounted on the inside. Milled titanium pocket clip. This is a single position only though, right side tip up. And we've got a really cool milled backspacer, kind of an arrow shape, kind of pointing towards the front of the blade. But overall, I think it's the shape and the interaction of the blade and the handle that really sets this knife apart. They're almost kind of mirror images of each other. The top of the blade curls up, the bottom of the handle here curls down, and you can really see how they nestled the blade into that handle shape, and it almost looks like a wing that's flapping in flight. I really like it. A couple different variants. We've got the all black stonewashed version here that comes in at about $255. We've also got a version with a dark gray stonewash and a standard blade that's about the same price. We've also got a version with a satin blade and gold anodized titanium handles. It's a little bit more, about $272, although that one probably might actually be my personal favorite. It's just so classy looking. So Bestech's really good at not just doing these high-end stuff, but also more workhorse type of knives, and that's where this knife comes in. This is the new Bobcat flipper. Price on this is $52, so it's one of those $50 D2 flippers that's so popular these days. We have ball bearings in the pivot, nice flipping action. The blade is a little bit over 3 inches with this very usable drop point shape, flat ground with D2 steel, as I said. Just a little bit of a rise to the spine here so that it gives it a little bit of visual interest, a little bit of motion, so it's not just a straight drop point. But the thing that makes this a really great workhorse are these G10 handles, which you can see from the pattern here has a bit of a radius to it, but some nice topography there with some subtler, they're not super aggressive finger grooves. I have slightly larger hands and they fit there just fine. The whole knife really rocks into your grip, or locks into your grip. It doesn't rock into your grip. You know what I'm talking about. Now there's a few different colors of this knife available as well. In addition to these two-tone G10s, we've got some plainer colors, I think black and kind of an olive drab green. Deep carry pocket clip, right side tip up only. This isn't reversible. And a little bit of a G10 backspacer and a little bit of a wider lanyard hole there too. Real easy. You might even be able to squeeze 2 strands of paracord through there. One will certainly be no problem. But that's the Bestech Bobcat. Really solid, affordable workhorse knife for $52. I've got one more knife for you right now. I've got 2 different variants of it here. This is the new Hogue Trauma. Now, while this is not an innovative design, we've seen something very similar from competitors before. I do like the way Hogue has executed the knife here. This is a rescue knife, and you have 2 different blade shapes. We've got what looks like it started out as a drop point, but has a blunted tip right here. Now, this knife is actually chisel ground. It looks like it has a flat grind on this side, but turn it over, and you can see we're completely flat, except for that swedge there along the top. Now, without that tip there, it's going to be easier to get under seat belts or clothing in a rescue scenario. But if you'd rather have a more usable blade shape day-to-day, there's also a sheep's foot version available with or without serrations. And because of the shape of that, that's also going to kind of help you maintain that, or help you continue to avoid, piercing someone if you are trying to remove some clothing or a seat belt or that sort of thing. And actually the stone-washed version of this knife is the cheapest variant that comes in at a little over 152, and they range up to about 170 depending on which option you get. Blade steel is N680, which is not the same as N690. It's actually a very highly corrosion-resistant steel. And moving back to the handle, we have Hogue's Able lock, which is their take on the crossbar-style lock. Now, similar to some of the competitors' knives out there, we've got the fold-out seatbelt cutter on the spine, as well as the glass breaker on the back. But they've taken things one step further and added a little cutout in the front of the handle here, which actually serves as an O2 wrench as well. We've also got a folded over pocket clip that's reversible for left or right tip up carry. It's not super deep carry, even though it is folded over. There's a fair bit sticking out there. But in a true rescue scenario, especially if someone's out there wearing duty gloves, you're going to want to be able to get into that or get that knife out of your pocket very easily. So you wouldn't really want this to be super deep carry. Those of you who've been following along to this channel for a while know that I really like Hogue. I think they're kind of underrated these days and deserve a little bit more attention. So I really like the way they've executed this design very much. So that's all the new stuff I have to show you in front of me right now, but we're going to be back next week with another table full of new knives. If you want to keep up to date on all of that, make sure you've subscribed to our channel here so you don't miss any of that. In the meantime, if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, make sure to head over to KnifeCenter.com. We're going to leave links in the description that are going to take you to these products so you can get your orders in if you're so inclined. But let us know what you liked out here. What was your favorite thing you saw today? What is something you maybe wanted to see different? What things are you looking forward to? Make sure to let us know in the comments. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center signing off. See you next time. Now the name they've come up for this mechanism. This is the internet. It's all uphill from here. Wait, uphill's bad. Downhill? Wait, downhill's bad. Instagram page over at the Knife Center.